In the late 2020s, work in many parts of the world stands at a turning point shaped by artificial intelligence, digital platforms, and automation. Tasks that once required large numbers of people are gradually being transferred to software that can read, write, speak, and move information at industrial scale. The change rarely appears as a single decisive moment. Instead, it arrives through hiring freezes, new tools quietly introduced into offices and shops, and job descriptions that no longer match the roles that once carried the same titles. The following sequence traces 8 kinds of work that, between roughly 2025 and 2030, are expected to fade as distinct occupations and reappear in altered forms within a new landscape of labor. Number 8 describes the changing role of the traditional travel agent between 2025 and 2030. These specialists arranged transport and accommodation for travelers in earlier decades, operating at a time when reservation systems and regulations were difficult for individuals to access directly. This role is historically significant because it shows how expertise once centered in dedicated offices migrates into consumer technology. With the spread of online platforms, mobile applications, and artificial intelligence systems that propose full itineraries, demand falls for agents who focus solely on simple, point-to-point travel. Over the longer term, human planning concentrates where risk and complexity remain high. Multi-country itineraries with visa constraints, specialized medical or accessibility needs, high-cost luxury travel, and corporate arrangements governed by intricate contracts. In this new landscape, the remaining role resembles that of a travel designer or concierge, valued less for basic access to systems and more for judgment and risk management. Number 7 examines the shift in the position of the cashier in large retail chains between the mid-2020s and the end of the decade. A cashier scans goods, handles payment, and issues receipts, long a visible point of human contact in everyday commerce. As self-checkout machines, mobile payment systems, and experimental frictionless stores spread, staffed lanes decline and tasks consolidate. Cashiers increasingly supervise groups of machines, clear errors, verify restricted purchases, and answer basic questions on the sales floor. Over time, especially in large chains, the classic role of a person who only scans and takes payments becomes uncommon. Human staff are reassigned into hybrid roles that combine customer assistance, shelf stocking, loss prevention, and technical oversight of automated systems. Traditional cashier positions remain more common in small shops and local businesses, but the mass employment pattern associated with large retail chains steadily diminishes. Number 6 follows the evolution of translators working on widely used language pairs during the years 2025 to 2030. Historically, translation has been a fully human craft, central to diplomacy, literature, trade, and communication. As machine translation and large language models become more fluent in routine material, general documents, product descriptions, simple websites, internal corporate messages are increasingly processed automatically and lightly reviewed by humans. Over the longer horizon, straightforward work contracts as a separate occupation. Demand grows instead in areas where nuance, cultural understanding, or legal consequence matter. Contracts, diplomatic texts, literary works, advertising, and communication involving minority languages poorly represented in training data. In this shifted environment, many professionals transition from line-to-line translation into localization, adapting machine-generated drafts to fit local laws, customs, and expectations. Number 5 considers the fate of junior back-office workers, often labeled analysts or operations assistants, whose daily tasks between 2025 and 2030 consist largely of transferring numbers between systems, cleaning spreadsheets, and preparing standard summaries. These workers operate within organizations such as banks, logistics companies, and service providers, where data must be compiled regularly. This pattern is historically significant because it marks the boundary between manual clerical labor and automated analysis within the modern office. As business intelligence dashboards and productivity software enhanced with embedded artificial intelligence become common, routine report generation is delegated to systems that pull data directly and present charts or narrative explanations on demand. In the immediate term, positions defined mainly by copying, formatting, and distributing repetitive reports experience stagnation or reduction. Over the longer horizon, analytical work shifts towards roles that combine technical understanding with organizational knowledge, roles sometimes called decision analysts or operation strategists, who explore causes and coordinate action. The older role of the copy and paste junior analyst gradually fades as a distinct occupation. Number 4 explores the transformation of simple telemarketing and low-complexity phone sales from the mid-2020s onward. Telemarketers traditionally placed unsolicited calls to sell products or services, often using standardized scripts. This work has long provided entry-level sales positions while shaping public perception of phone communication as a channel for commercial pressure. With automated dialing systems, synthetic voice technology, and scripted artificial intelligence capable of holding basic conversations, initial contact in high-volume campaigns can be handled entirely by software. The immediate effect is a reduction in the number of human callers needed for repetitive pitching and simple data collection. Over time, remaining human roles concentrate on more complex, higher-value interactions, especially business-to-business sales, where negotiation, relationship building, and tailored solutions are essential. Scripted household telemarketing declines sharply, while sales professionals increasingly function as consultants, supported by artificial intelligence tools that research prospects, manage schedules, and generate draft proposals. Number 3 traces shifts in customer support roles that rely almost entirely on fixed scripts and public help pages. Agents in this category typically work in call centers or online chat environments, responding to common problems such as password resets, access issues, and basic product questions. This form of work occupies a central place in the service economy, mediating the relationship between consumers and the digital services on which everyday life depends. As companies deploy chatbots and automated phone systems powered by language models linked to internal knowledge bases and account information, routine inquiries can be handled automatically at any hour. The immediate result is declining hiring for roles that add little beyond reading scripted solutions. Over the longer horizon, human agents increasingly take on escalated cases involving emotional distress, ambiguous situations not covered by policy, or complex technical issues involving interconnected systems. Employment shifts from broad layers of low autonomous agents to smaller groups of specialists with greater responsibility, while nearly all purely script-based support roles gradually disappear. Number 2 examines the position of writers employed by organizations commonly referred to as content mills during the second half of the 2020s. These companies produce large volumes of low-cost written material for search engine optimization, affiliate marketing, and generic product reviews. This sector is historically significant because it shows how language can become an industrial commodity in the digital economy. As artificial intelligence text generators produce coherent, keyword-rich articles within seconds, demand declines for large numbers of low-paid writers creating interchangeable text. Over the longer term, employment divides. Routine production of product descriptions, unspecialized blog posts, and formulaic list articles is carried out by automated systems, supervised by a small number of editors. Meanwhile, increased value accrues to writers and editors who provide distinctive narrative voice, in-depth research, or specialized knowledge, particularly where trust, expertise, or originality matter. The traditional role of the high-volume content mill writer fades as a standalone occupation, replaced by editorial and strategic positions that refine and oversee machine-generated drafts. Number 1 focuses on the classic data entry clerk between 2025 and 2030. These workers read information from paper documents or digital systems and type it into another location without making substantive decisions about its content. Data entry has long been foundational in administrative institutions, symbolizing clerical work in the digital age. With optical character recognition and robotic process automation, software that mimics human interactions like clicking and typing, much of this repetitive activity can be automated. When combined with artificial intelligence capable of interpreting context and categorizing information, entire workflows of form processing and record updating can unfold with minimal human involvement. The immediate consequence is a sharp decline in recruitment for positions defined solely by manual transcription. Over the longer term, the underlying tasks of moving and checking data do not vanish. They fold into broader roles often described as automation operations or workflow coordination. In these positions, smaller groups of employees design data pipelines, monitor automated tasks for errors, manage exceptions, and propose improvements. The familiar figure of the dedicated data entry clerk steadily recedes from the organizational chart. Across these 8 cases, a consistent pattern emerges in the late 2020s labor history. Occupations whose value rests mainly on repetition, rigid scripts, and predictable transfers of information are compressed or absorbed into automated systems. Human work shifts towards areas where context, interpretation, creativity, and emotional understanding remain more difficult to encode.